My name is Julia Johnson, and I'm here with Executive Director of PittsburghNORML and Criminal Defense Attorney Patrick Nightingale. PittsburghNORML is pleased to present you with a series of short videos designed to give you everything that you need to know about cannabis laws in Pennsylvania. What are the laws regulating cannabis in the Commonwealth?
Cannabis possession, distribution, and manufacturing is governed by the Controlled Substances Act. Pennsylvania's Controlled Substances Act mirrors the federal Controlled Substances Act, and cannabis is a Schedule I controlled substance, meaning that it has a high potential for abuse and no medicinal value whatsoever. In Pennsylvania, the possession and or distribution is governed by either possession of a small amount of marijuana, which is possession of 30 grams or less, a $500 fine and a maximum 30 days incarceration. Possession of marijuana, which would be an amount greater than 30 grams but less than an amount consistent with distribution, and that's an ungraded misdemeanor with a maximum 1 year incarceration for a first offense, maximum 3 years incarceration for subsequent offenses, and finally possession with intent to distribute or distribution of marijuana, which also governs the manufacturing or the cultivation of cannabis.
What are the prohibitions on growing cannabis?
In Pennsylvania, the growing of a single plant is manufacturing marijuana, and it is subject to the same penalties as distribution of marijuana. Certain mandatory minimum sentences kick in depending on the number of plants, but it's important for cannabis users here in Pennsylvania to know that if you have a single plant, you will be charged with a felony for manufacturing, regardless of whether or not there is any evidence of distribution, regardless of whether or not it is possessed solely for personal use.
What are the mandatory minimums in Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania, mandatory minimums kick in at certain number of plants and certain weight. Possession of 2 pounds or more of marijuana, if it's possessed with the intent to distribute, is subject to a 1 year mandatory. 10 to 20 plants is subject to a 1 year mandatory. As the weight goes up, we get to 10 to 50 pounds. In that range, it's a 3 year mandatory. And 21 to 51 plants is a 3 year mandatory. Finally, if it's more than 50 pounds or more than 51 plants, it's subject to a 5 year mandatory. And the most important thing to know about mandatory minimum sentences is that they are only waivable at the discretion of the prosecution. A judge cannot override a prosecutor's decision to seek a mandatory minimum sentence. So it's critical that responsible cannabis users in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania understand that running afoul of these mandatory minimums could subject them to very arbitrary prosecutorial decisions.
If you have any questions about cannabis laws in Pennsylvania, please contact us at info@pittsburghnorml.org.